The unexpected passenger. The celestial Voyager loomed before Zara Chen, its sleek, opalescent hull shimmering against the backdrop of Earth's bustling spaceport. At 12 years old, Zara was by far the youngest passenger preparing to board the alien cruise ship, and certainly the only one whose feet didn't quite touch the ground as she sat in the departure lounge. "Now remember, Zara," her father, Dr. Alan Chen, said for what felt like the 100th time, "this is a tremendous opportunity. The Galactic Concorde doesn't often allow humans on their leisure cruises. You're to observe, learn, and above all, be on your best behavior." Zara nodded, her eyes never leaving the magnificent ship. She knew the speech by heart now. As Earth's leading xenotechnologist, her father had been invited to give a series of lectures aboard the celestial Voyager. The invitation to bring his daughter along had been unexpected but welcome. After all, Zara was no ordinary 12-year-old. "I know, Dad," she said, finally turning to face him. Her dark eyes sparkled with a mix of intelligence and mischief that always reminded Alan of his late wife, Lily. "I'll make you and Mom proud." Alan's expression softened. "You always do, Starlight. You always do." As they made their way through the boarding process, Zara couldn't help but marvel at the diversity around her. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors moved through the line. Some floated, some slithered, and others walked on varying numbers of appendages. The air was filled with a cacophony of languages, most of which Zara couldn't begin to comprehend. At the final checkpoint, a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin and 4 arms greeted them. "Welcome aboard the Celestial Voyager," it said in perfectly accented English. "I am Xylix, your cruise director. Dr. Chen, we are honored by your presence. And this must be young Zara. We don't often have the pleasure of hosting human children." Zara straightened her back, trying to appear as mature as possible. "Thank you for having us, Xylix. I'm looking forward to learning about your ship and its systems." Xylix's large, multifaceted eyes blinked in what Zara hoped was approval. Curious and polite. "You'll do well here, young one. Now, if you'll follow me, I'll show you to your quarters." As they glided through the ship's corridors, Zora's head was on a constant swivel. Everything was so alien, yet somehow familiar. The walls seemed to pulse with a soft, bioluminescent light. Doors opened and closed with barely a whisper, and gravity shifted subtly as they moved deeper into the ship. "The Celestial Voyager," Xylix explained as they walked, "is the pride of the Galactic Concorde's fleet. It's a living ship, grown rather than built, with systems that adapt and evolve. Our journey will take us to the edge of the Orion Arm and back, showcasing some of the most spectacular sights in this sector of the galaxy." They arrived at their quarters, a spacious suite that seemed to shimmer and shift as they entered. "These rooms will adapt to your comfort preferences over time," Xylix said. "The ship's eye, which we call the Overseer, will assist you with any needs. Your lectures, Dr. Chen, will begin tomorrow in the Grand Symposium. Young Zora is welcome to explore the public areas of the ship, under supervision, of course." After Xylix left, Zara immediately began investigating every nook and cranny of their new living space. She ran her hands along the walls, feeling the subtle warmth and vibration of the living ship. It reminded her of the stories her mother used to tell about the early days of human space exploration, how every spacecraft had its own personality, its own quirks. "Overseer," Zara called out, remembering what Xylix had said about the ship's eye. "Are you there?" A soft, genderless voice responded, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Indeed I am, young Zara Chen. How may I assist you?" Zara's eyes widened with excitement. "Can you tell me about the ship's propulsion systems? How do you achieve faster-than-light travel?" There was a pause, and Zara could have sworn she heard something like a chuckle. My, quite the inquisitive one, aren't you? I'm afraid much of our propulsion technology is classified. However, I can provide you with some general information about our navigation and life support systems if you're interested." For the next hour, Zara peppered the Overseer with questions, absorbing information like a sponge. Her father watched with a mixture of pride and amusement, remembering how Lily had been the same way, always curious, always pushing to understand more. As the ship prepared for departure, Zara and her father made their way to the observation deck. The vast expanse of space stretched out before them, Earth growing smaller by the second. Zara felt a twinge of nervousness mixed with her excitement. This was her first time leaving Earth, and she couldn't help but think of her mother, who had spent so much of her life among the stars before an accident had brought her back to Earth permanently. Mom would have loved this, Zara whispered, more to herself than to her father. Aelin put an arm around his daughter's shoulders. She's here with us, Starlight. In every question you ask, every discovery you make, she'd be so proud of you. As the celestial Voyager accelerated away from Earth, its engines humming with power beyond human understanding, Zara felt a shiver of anticipation run through her. Something told her this wasn't going to be just any cruise. Little did she know how right she was. The first few days aboard the celestial Voyager passed in a blur of new experiences for Zara. She attended some of her father's lectures, marveling at how he could explain complex human technologies to an audience of diverse alien species. In her free time, she explored the ship, always with the Overseer as her invisible guide and companion. It was on the fourth day of the voyage that Zara first noticed something wasn't quite right. She was in one of the ship's many gardens, a place where gravity was reduced to allow for the growth of exotic floating plants, when she felt an odd vibration through the deck plates. "Overseer," she called out, "did you feel that?" The Az voice came back, tinged with what Zara could have sworn was concern. "I did not feel anything, Zara. My sensors are not detecting any anomalies." Zara frowned. She knew what she had felt. It reminded her of the slight shudder her mother's old flitter would give just before the stabilizers kicked in. "Are you sure? Maybe check the inertial dampeners or the gravity generators." There was a longer pause than usual before the Overseer responded. "I've run a diagnostic. All systems are functioning within normal parameters. Perhaps what you felt was simply a minor adjustment as we prepared for our next FTL jump." Zara wasn't convinced, but she let it go. However, over the next few hours, she noticed more subtle signs that something was off. The bioluminescent lights seemed to flicker ever so slightly. The temperature would fluctuate by a degree or two. And there was that vibration again, stronger this time. As she made her way back to her quarters, Zara passed by a group of alien passengers. They were clustered together, speaking in low, urgent tones. Zara couldn't understand their language, but their body language was clear enough. They were worried about something. Just then, the ship shuddered violently. Zara stumbled, catching herself against a wall that suddenly felt too warm to the touch. Alarms began to blare, and the Overseer's voice came over the ship-wide communication system. "Attention all passengers and crew. We are experiencing a minor technical difficulty. Please remain calm and return to your quarters. This is not an emergency situation. Repeat, this is not an emergency situation." But as Zara looked around at the panicked faces of aliens and the few humans aboard, she knew that whatever was happening was far from minor. The celestial Voyager, the pride of the Galactic Concorde's fleet, was in trouble. And somehow, Zara Chen, the unexpected passenger, felt that she was about to be thrust into the heart of a crisis that would test the limits of human ingenuity and alien technology alike. Crisis in the cosmos. The celestial Voyager's corridors, once filled with the excited chatter of diverse species, now echoed with the frantic footsteps and alarmed voices of passengers rushing to their quarters. Zara Chen, her heart pounding, fought against the tide of panicking aliens to reach her father. "Dad," she called out, spotting Dr. Alan Chen emerging from the Grand Symposium. "Something's wrong with the ship. I felt it earlier, but the Overseer said everything was fine." Alan's face was grim as he ushered Zara into a quiet alcove. "You're right, Starlight. The ship's having some kind of malfunction, but the crew is being tight-lipped about it. Come on, let's get back to our quarters." As they navigated the chaos, Zora's mind raced. The vibrations were getting worse, and now there was an unmistakable list to the ship's artificial gravity. It reminded her of the stories her mother used to tell about the early days of space travel, when systems were less reliable and quick thinking often meant the difference between life and death. They had barely made it back to their suite when another violent shudder rocked the ship. The lights flickered ominously, and for a moment, Zara felt the terrifying sensation of weightlessness before the gravity reasserted itself. "Overseer," Alan called out, his voice steady despite the circumstances. "What's our status?" The AI's voice came back, noticeably strained. "Dr. Chen, we are experiencing difficulties with several key systems. The crew is working to resolve the issue. Please remain in your quarters for your safety." Zara exchanged a look with her father. They both knew the overseer was downplaying the situation. "Can you be more specific about these difficulties?" Zara pressed. There was a long pause before the overseer responded. I am experiencing conflicting data streams. My primary systems are reporting all clear, but secondary systems are indicating critical failures in propulsion, life support, and navigation. I cannot determine which data set is accurate." Alan's face paled. "An AI system conflict. That's not good. Zara, stay here. I'm going to see if I can offer any assistance to the crew." "But Dad." "No buts. Stay here where it's safe. I'll be back soon." As the door closed behind her father, Zara felt a surge of frustration. Stay safe. When had that ever been the Chen family motto? Her mother certainly hadn't stayed safe, always pushing the boundaries of space exploration. And now her father was rushing off to help, leaving her behind. The ship lurched again, and this time Zara heard the unmistakable sound of metal groaning under stress. She made a decision. "Overseer, can you show me a schematic of the ship's systems?" "I'm not sure that would be appropriate, young Zara. Those schematics are classified." "Overseer," Zara interrupted, an idea forming. "You said you're experiencing conflicting data streams, right? Maybe a human perspective could help sort out which one is accurate. I've studied xenotechnology with my dad. I might be able to spot something your algorithms are missing." There was another long pause, and Zara held her breath. Finally, the overseer spoke. "Your logic is not unsound. Very well. I will display the schematics." The air in front of Zara shimmered, and suddenly she was surrounded by a holographic display of the celestial Voyager's inner workings. It was far more complex than anything she had ever seen, a beautiful and terrifying dance of energy flows and data streams. As she studied the display, Zara noticed something odd. There was a subtle discrepancy between the primary and secondary systems, a tiny lag in data transfer that shouldn't have been there. It was almost as if, "Overseer," Zora said slowly, "I think your systems might be under attack. Look at this data transfer node here. It's not functioning like the others. Could something be interfering with it?" The AI's response was immediate and alarmed. "Analyzing. You're right. There's an unknown subroutine embedded in the node. It's causing the conflicting data streams, but I can't isolate it without shutting down critical systems." Zara's mind raced. She remembered something her mother had once told her about dealing with system conflicts in old Earth shuttles. What if we create a third data stream, one that runs parallel to the others, but isn't connected to that compromised node? We could use that to cross-check the other two and figure out which one is accurate. That could work," the overseer said, a note of surprise in its voice. "But implementing such a solution would require manual intervention in areas of the ship that are currently highly unstable." As if to emphasize the point, another violent shudder ran through the ship. The lights flickered again, and this time they stayed dim, emergency power barely keeping them lit. Zara took a deep breath. She knew what she had to do. "Overseer, guide me to the nearest access point where I can help implement this solution." "Absolutely not," the AI responded firmly. "It's far too dangerous. You're a child, Zara. I cannot allow you to put yourself at risk. I'm not just a child, Zara said, her voice rising with determination. I'm Zara Chen. My mother was Captain Lily Chen, one of the best astronauts Earth ever produced. My father is Dr. Alan Chen, the foremost expert in xenotechnology. I've been learning about spaceships and alien tech since before I could walk. Right now, I might be the only one who can help save this ship and everyone on it. There was a long silence, broken only by the groaning of the ship's stressed hull and the distant sounds of panic from other parts of the vessel. Finally, the overseer spoke. Very well, Zara Chen. Against my better judgment, I will guide you. But we must hurry. The ship's systems are degrading rapidly. Zara nodded, her face set with determination. As she stepped out into the corridor, now eerily empty and bathed in the red glow of emergency lighting, she couldn't help but think of her mother. I hope I'm making you proud, Mom, she whispered. Little did Zara know that her actions in the next few hours would not only save the celestial Voyager, but would also change the course of human-alien relations forever. The crisis in the cosmos had begun, and humanity's unlikely hero was a 12-year-old girl with stars in her eyes and the legacy of explorers in her blood. A human touch in alien technology. The corridors of the celestial Voyager had become a maze of shadows and uncertainty. Zara Chen moved swiftly, guided by the overseer's voice and the faint glow of emergency lighting. The ship shuddered periodically, each tremor a reminder of the precarious situation they were in. Take the next left, Zara, the overseer instructed. The primary access node is located behind a panel at the end of this corridor. As Zara rounded the corner, she nearly collided with a tall, multi-limbed alien crew member. Its phosphorescent skin pulsed with agitation. Human child, it chittered in broken English. You must return to your quarters immediately. Zara took a deep breath, summoning all the confidence she could muster. I'm here to help. The overseer is guiding me to implement a solution to the system conflict. The alien's luminous eyes blinked rapidly, clearly conflicted. This is most irregular, but our situation is dire. Proceed, but with caution, young human. With a nod of thanks, Zara continued on her way. As she approached the access panel, memories of her mother's teachings flooded back to her. Remember, Starlight, Lily Chen's voice echoed in her mind. Every spacecraft has its own personality, its own rhythm. To truly understand it, you need to feel it, to become one with its systems. Zara placed her hand on the wall, feeling the subtle vibrations of the living ship. She closed her eyes, trying to sense the celestial Voyager's heartbeat beneath the chaos of malfunctioning systems. Overseer, she said, opening her eyes with newfound determination. I'm ready. Talk me through accessing the node. As the AI began its instructions, Zora's fingers flew over the alien controls with surprising dexterity. The panel slid open, revealing a complex array of bioorganic circuitry that pulsed with energy. Incredible, Zara breathed, momentarily awestruck by the advanced technology before her. Focus, Zara, the overseer urged. We need to create a bypass to establish the third data stream. Can you identify the primary data conduit? Zara scanned the intricate network, her mind racing to apply everything she'd learned from her father's research and her mother's practical experience. I think, yes, there it is. She pointed to a thick, pulsating strand of biocircuitry. Correct, the overseer confirmed, a note of approval in its voice. Now we need to create a parallel pathway without disrupting the existing flows. This is a delicate procedure, Zara. Are you certain you can handle it? Zara's hand hovered over the controls, a moment of doubt creeping in. What if she made a mistake? What if she made things worse instead of better? Just then, another violent shudder rocked the ship, nearly throwing Zara off her feet. Alarms blared with renewed urgency. Overseer, what's happening? Zara asked, her voice tight with worry. Multiple system failures cascading. The AI responded, its usual calm demeanor slipping. Life support is critically compromised in sectors 7 through 12. Structural integrity is down to 64% and falling. Zara, we're running out of time. The gravity of the situation hit Zara like a physical force. Thousands of lives, both alien and human, depended on her actions in the next few moments. She thought of her father, probably working frantically with the crew to find a solution. She thought of her mother, facing impossible odds on her final fateful mission. "Mom," Zara whispered, "I could really use your guidance right now." As if in response, a memory surfaced. Lily Chen's voice, clear and strong. "When all else fails, trust your instincts, Starlight. Sometimes the simplest solution is the one right in front of you." Zara's eyes snapped open, a new idea forming. "Overseer, instead of creating a completely new pathway, what if we repurpose one of the secondary systems, something non-critical that we could temporarily shut down?" There was a pause as the AI processed this suggestion. Analyzing. Yes, that could work. The tertiary recreational subsystems are non-essential. If we reroute their power and data pathways, we could establish the verification stream without risking further instability. With renewed confidence, Zara set to work. Her small hands moved with precision over the alien controls, guided by the Overseer's instructions and her own intuition. She rerouted power conduits, reconfigured data nodes, and carefully wove the new pathway into the existing network. As she worked, Zara felt a change in the ship around her. The violent shuddering began to subside, replaced by a more rhythmic pulsing. Like a steady heartbeat. "It's working," the Overseer exclaimed. "The third data stream is coming online. I'm beginning to filter out the corrupted data and regain control of critical systems." Zara allowed herself a small smile of relief, but she knew they weren't out of danger yet. What about the unknown subroutine? The one that was causing the conflict in the first place. "Now that I can differentiate between genuine and false data, I've isolated the foreign code," the Overseer replied. "It appears to be some kind of sabotage attempt. Highly sophisticated. I'm purging it from my systems now." As the last traces of the malicious code were eliminated, the ship's normal lighting flickered back to life. The oppressive sense of doom that had hung in the air began to dissipate. Zara leaned against the wall, suddenly exhausted. The full weight of what she had just accomplished began to sink in. She, Zara Chen, a 12-year-old human girl, had just saved an advanced alien cruise ship from disaster. "Zara," the Overseer's voice was soft, almost reverent. "I thank you. Your unique perspective and quick thinking saved us all. I don't think any of my creators could have come up with such an elegant solution." Before Zara could respond, hurried footsteps approached. She turned to see her father running towards her, his face a mix of relief and residual panic. "Zara." Alan Chen swept his daughter into a tight embrace. "When I couldn't find you in our quarters, I feared the worst. What are you doing here? Are you all right?" Zara hugged her father back, feeling the adrenaline of the past hour finally begin to ebb. "I'm okay, Dad. I helped fix the ship." As Zara began to explain what had happened, a group of alien crew members approached, led by the ship's captain, a statuesque being with shimmering, crystalline skin. "Is this true?" the captain asked, its melodious voice filled with wonder. "This human child found a solution where all our advanced systems failed." The Overseer's voice rang out, clear and strong. "It is indeed true, Captain. Zara Chen's actions have saved the celestial Voyager and all aboard her. Her understanding of our technology, combined with a uniquely human perspective, allowed her to see a solution we had overlooked." The alien crew members exchanged looks of astonishment and growing respect. The captain stepped forward, bowing slightly to Zara in a gesture of deep gratitude. "Young Zara Chen," it said solemnly, "you have done more than save our ship. You have opened our eyes to the true potential of humanity. Perhaps we of the Galactic Concord have underestimated your species." As the implications of the captain's words sank in, Zara realized that her actions today would have repercussions far beyond the celestial voyager. She had not only averted a crisis, but had also taken a giant leap forward in human-alien relations. The crisis was over, but Zara Chen's adventure among the stars was just beginning. As she stood there, surrounded by grateful aliens and cradled in her proud father's arms, she couldn't help but smile up at the ceiling, imagining her mother's face among the stars. "We did it, Mom," she whispered. "We really did it." The impossible solution. In the aftermath of the crisis, the celestial voyager hummed with a newfound energy. Zara Chen found herself at the center of attention, her feat of engineering and quick thinking the talk of every deck. But as the initial euphoria faded, a sobering reality set in. The ship, while no longer in immediate danger, was far from safe. Zara stood in the ship's command center, surrounded by a mix of alien crew members and human technicians. Holographic displays flickered around them, showing the extent of the damage caused by the sabotage attempt. The good news: the ship's chief engineer, a squid-like being named Thorax, burbled through its translator, is that young Zora's solution has stabilized our critical systems. The bad news: it gestured with a tentacle to a particularly ominous-looking diagram. The saboteur's code did more damage than we initially thought. Our FTL drive is completely offline, and we're drifting into a region of space known for its intense gravitational distortions. Captain Liriana, her crystalline skin shimmering with concern, turned to Zara and Dr. Chen. "We've sent out distress signals, but given our location, it could be weeks before help arrives. We don't have that kind of time." Zara felt the weight of everyone's stares. She knew they were hoping for another miracle, but this was beyond anything she'd ever encountered. I don't know if I can fix this," she admitted, her voice small. Her father placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Nobody expects you to have all the answers, Starlight. We're all in this together." As the adults began to debate potential solutions, each sounding more desperate than the last, Zara's mind wandered. She thought about the ship, about how it was more than just metal and circuits. It was alive, in its own way. And then, like a bolt of lightning, an idea struck her. "Wait," she exclaimed, causing the room to fall silent. What if we don't try to fix the FTL drive? What if we use the ship itself to get us out of here?" Confused murmurs filled the room. Captain Liriana cocked her head, intrigued. "Explain, young one." Zara took a deep breath, organizing her thoughts. "Okay, so the celestial voyager is a living ship, right? It adapts and evolves. What if we could, I don't know, supercharge its natural abilities? Use the gravitational distortions to our advantage instead of trying to avoid them?" The room erupted in a cacophony of alien languages as crew members debated the merits of Zora's suggestion. Dr. Chen looked at his daughter with a mix of pride and concern. "Zara, what you're suggesting, it's never been done before. It could be incredibly dangerous." "I know, Dad," Zara replied, her eyes shining with determination. "But sometimes the impossible solution is the only one we have left." Thorax, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke up. "The human child. Maybe onto something. Our bioorganic hull was designed to withstand extreme conditions. If we could reconfigure it to harness the gravitational energies instead of resisting them." Captain Liriana's crystalline form seemed to glow brighter. "It's a risk, but one I believe we must take. Thorax, work with Zara and Dr. Chen to develop this plan. The rest of you, prepare the ship and passengers for what may be a very rough ride." As the command center emptied, Zara found herself face to face with the Overseer's holographic avatar, a swirling nebula of light that had taken on a vaguely humanoid shape. "You continue to surprise me, Zara Chen," the AI said, its voice filled with what could only be described as admiration. "What you're proposing goes against all my programming, all established protocols. And yet, I believe it may be our best chance." Zara smiled up at the avatar. Sometimes thinking outside the box is exactly what we need. Now, let's figure out how to turn this ship into the biggest surfboard the galaxy has ever seen. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Zara worked alongside Thorax and a team of the ship's best engineers, her father providing insight and support. They pored over schematics, ran simulations, and debated fiercely over every detail of their plan. The basic idea was sound. Reconfigure the ship's bioorganic hull to act as a sort of sail, catching the gravitational waves and using them to propel the celestial voyager to safety. But the execution was fraught with challenges. If we miscalculate even slightly, Thorax warned, the gravitational forces could tear the ship apart. Zara nodded grimly. Which is why we need to be perfect. Overseer, can you run another simulation with the latest adjustments? As the AI processed the request, Zara felt a familiar presence at her side. She looked up to see her father, his face etched with a mixture of pride and worry. "You know, Starlight," he said softly, "your mother would be amazed by what you're doing here. She always said you'd outshine us both one day." Zara felt a lump form in her throat. "I wish she was here, Dad. She'd know exactly what to do." Dr. Chen knelt down, looking his daughter in the eye. "Zara, listen to me. Your mother isn't gone. She's right here, in you. Every time you face a challenge, every time you come up with a solution no one else could see, that's Lily shining through. She'd be so proud of you. I know I am." Tears welled up in Zara's eyes, but before she could respond, the Overseer's voice cut through the moment. "Simulation complete," the AI announced. "Success probability has increased to 68.3%. It's the best result we've achieved so far." Captain Liriana, who had been silently observing, stepped forward. "It will have to do. We're about to enter the heart of the gravitational distortion field. It's now or never." Zara took a deep breath, steadying herself. This was it. Everything they'd worked for came down to this moment. "Okay," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. "Let's do this." As the crew rushed to their stations, Zara and her father made their way to the command center. Through the view screen, they could see the space ahead distorting, twisting into impossible shapes. "All hands, brace for reconfiguration." Captain Liriana's voice rang out over the ship-wide comm. "Initiating hull transformation in 3, 2, 1. The ship shuddered, more violently than ever before. Zara could feel the structure around her shifting, changing. The view screen showed the sleek hull of the celestial voyager morphing, expanding into something that looked almost like the wings of a manta ray. "Hull reconfiguration complete," Thorax reported. "We're ready to ride the wave, Captain." Captain Liriana's crystalline form seemed to glow with intensity. "Take us in, helm. Full power to the bioorganic systems. Let's see what this ship can really do." As the celestial voyager plunged into the heart of the gravitational distortion, Zora gripped her father's hand tightly. The ship groaned and creaked around them. "The stress is nearly overwhelming." "It's working," someone shouted. "We're gaining speed." Indeed, the ship was accelerating at an incredible rate. Stars streaked by on the view screen, distorted by the gravitational forces they were harnessing. But then, a new alarm blared. "Captain." Thorax called out, panic in its voice. "The hull integrity is failing. We can't maintain this speed." Zara's mind raced. They were so close. They couldn't fail now. And then, another impossible idea struck her. "Overseer," she called out. "You're part of this ship, right? Can you reinforce the hull yourself? Use your processing power to strengthen the bioorganic matrix." There was a moment of silence, and then the AI's voice, strained but determined, responded. I can try." Diverting all non-essential functions now. The ship lurched again, but this time it felt different. The groaning of the hull subsided, replaced by a steady hum of power. "It's stabilizing," Thorax exclaimed. "Hull integrity is rising. 60%. 75%, 85%. On the view screen, the chaotic swirl of the gravitational distortion began to thin. And then, suddenly, they were through. The celestial Voyager burst out into clear space, stars shining steadily around them. A cheer went up from the crew. They had done it. They had survived the impossible. As the adrenaline began to fade, Zara looked up at her father, then around at the alien crew members. In that moment, she realized that something profound had changed. Humans and aliens had worked together, faced impossible odds together, and emerged victorious. The celestial Voyager's voyage had become far more than a simple cruise. It had become a testament to what could be achieved when different species came together, combining their unique strengths and perspectives. As Captain Liriana approached, her crystalline form glowing with gratitude, Zara knew that this was just the beginning. The impossible solution had opened up a whole new realm of possibilities, not just for space travel, but for the future of human-alien relations. The adventure was far from over. In fact, for Zara Chen and the crew of the Celestial Voyager, it was only just beginning. A new era of cosmic cooperation. The Celestial Voyager drifted serenely through space, its bioorganic hull slowly reconfiguring back to its original form. Inside, the ship buzzed with an energy that was part relief, part excitement, and part sheer disbelief at what they had just accomplished. Zara Chen stood at the center of it all, still trying to process the events of the past few days. She had gone from being an ordinary passenger to the savior of an alien cruise ship, and in doing so, had potentially changed the course of human-alien relations forever. Zara. Captain Liriana's melodious voice cut through her thoughts. The captain's crystalline form seemed to glow with a warmth that hadn't been there before. The Galactic Concorde has responded to our distress signal. They're sending a fleet to escort us back to the nearest starbase for repairs. Zara nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. That's great news, Captain. I'm glad we were able to get to a safe location. Indeed, the captain replied, her tone becoming more serious. But that's not all. The Concorde Council wishes to speak with you directly. Your actions here, they've caused quite a stir. Zara's eyes widened. The Galactic Concorde Council was the governing body for most of known space. For them to want to speak to a human, let alone a child, was unprecedented. Before Zara could respond, her father stepped in. Captain, with all due respect, Zara is just a child. She's been through a lot already. Captain Liriana turned her gaze to Dr. Chen. I understand your concern, Dr. Chen, but your daughter has demonstrated abilities and insights that many of our most esteemed scientists and engineers lack. The Council believes this could be a turning point in our relationship with humanity. As the adults discussed the implications, Zara's attention was drawn to the Overseer's holographic avatar, which had materialized nearby. You seem troubled, Zara, the eye observed. Zara sighed. I didn't do any of this for recognition or to change galactic politics. I just wanted to help. The Overseer's form shimmered thoughtfully. Perhaps that is precisely why your actions are so significant. You've shown the galaxy what humans are capable of when they act selflessly and creatively. Zara pondered this as she watched the first of the Concorde ships appear on the view screen, sleek and powerful. She thought about her mother, about all the human explorers who had dreamed of this moment, when humanity would be seen as equals among the stars. Okay, she said finally, turning back to Captain Liriana and her father. I'll speak to the Council. The next few hours were a whirlwind of preparation. Zara was briefed on Concorde protocol, dressed in a formal outfit that blended human and alien styles, and coached on how to address the Council members. Finally, it was time. Zara stood before a large holographic projector in the ship's main conference room. With a nod from Captain Liriana, the connection was established. The room filled with the projected images of the Concorde Council, beings of various species, all radiating an aura of power and wisdom. At the center was High Counselor Zixtera, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate metallic shell. Zara Chen of Earth. High Counselor Zixtera's voice resonated through the room. We have heard much about your extraordinary actions aboard the Celestial Voyager. You have our gratitude and our attention. Zara took a deep breath, remembering everything she had been taught about diplomacy. But as she opened her mouth to speak, she decided to set the formal words aside. Instead, she spoke from her heart. "Thank you, High Counselor," she began. "I'm honored to speak with you. But I want you to know that what I did wasn't extraordinary, at least not for a human. We're a species of problem solvers, of dreamers. We look at the impossible and see potential. And I believe that if we work together, humans and aliens, there's no challenge we can't overcome." A murmur ran through the council. High Counselor Zixtera leaned forward, intrigued. "You speak wisely for one so young. Tell us, Zara Chen, what do you envision for the future of human-alien cooperation?" Zara thought for a moment, then smiled. "I envision a future where we learn from each other, where human intuition and creativity combine with alien technology and wisdom. I see joint scientific missions, cultural exchanges, and yes, maybe even more humans on alien cruise ships." This last comment elicited a chuckle from some of the council members. High Counselor Zixtera's energy form pulsed brightly. "Your vision is compelling, young one. The council will need time to deliberate, but know this. Your actions have opened a door that many thought would remain closed for centuries. Humanity has proven itself today, through you." As the transmission ended, Zara felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her. She had done it. She had spoken to the Galactic Concord Council, and just maybe changed the course of history. In the days that followed, as the Celestial Voyager made its way to the starbase for repairs, news of Zara's achievements spread throughout the galaxy. Humans everywhere celebrated this new chapter in their species' cosmic journey. But for Zara, the most meaningful moment came quietly, in her quarters aboard the ship. As she packed her things, preparing to return to Earth, she found a small holographic projector hidden among her belongings. Activating it, she gasped as an image of her mother appeared. "Hello, Starlight," Lily Chen's recorded message began. "If you're seeing this, it means you've done something extraordinary. I always knew you would. Remember, the stars aren't just out there. They're in you, Zora. You carry the legacy of every human dreamer and explorer who came before you. I am so proud of you, my little cosmic pioneer." Tears streamed down Zora's face as the message ended. She clutched the projector to her chest, feeling closer to her mother than she had in years. A knock at the door roused her from her emotional moment. It was her father, smiling warmly. "Ready to go home, Starlight?" Zora looked out the viewport at the vast expanse of space, twinkling with possibilities. "You know, Dad," she said, a new determination in her voice, "I think this is just the beginning. We have so much more to explore, so much more to learn." Dr. Chen nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Well then, I guess we better start planning our next adventure, shouldn't we?" As they left the room together, Zara knew that her life would never be the same. She had touched the stars, saved an alien ship, and opened a new chapter in human history. But more importantly, she had discovered her own potential, a potential as vast and limitless as the cosmos itself. The Celestial Voyager's journey was over, but for Zara Chen, Earth's young ambassador to the stars, the greatest adventures were still to come.